We were making sacrifices in materials and in areas. We knew we had to pause. So then it was, okay, what do we do?
This is like really hard. We didn't know that it would just happen so quickly. The last time we were here talking about the lot and our progress with building, we were really excited because we had cleared the land, the machinery was here, and we were getting ready to start building. But since then, a lot has happened. We got all of our bids in, and
well, right at in those moments, we obviously were getting updated pricing, which at that time, and still right now, was changing daily, certainly weekly. So we were getting estimates or quotes that people were saying, well, here's our price, but
it's only good for 3
days.
days.
It's good. You have to lock it in now or else it's going up. And by the way, it's going way up.
Yeah.
So as we got our overall pricing, it blew not just a little bit, not just it was more than double our original budget. And so we just had to time out.
I think what's important to note too is that we were already for months going through a process of value engineering all of our plans. And so there were a lot of things, especially because Kaimi has been, designing our house on different lots for 10 years now. And, so he had an idea of what he wanted for this house. And a lot of those ideas just had to get scrapped because they were too expensive. Concrete walls, nope. And then we got to the point where we even had to scrap the entire outdoor area. And so the numbers we're talking about are not just
getting the whole house even. Right.
Not getting the house we wanted.
Right. And that's just been the industry,
Initially.
We had it priced about a year and a half prior as we started to get into the detailed design, because it took a while to get then the permit drawings done and then submitted and then approved. So all that time went by, about a year and a half. And so, it wasn't oh, what a shock, we had no idea what the estimate should have been. And we knew what it was. It's just world events. Ukraine was happening, gas prices,
labor,
shipping,
in Hawaii.
labor, COVID, obviously was already kind of there, but yeah, it's just unfortunately the reality.
To give you an idea, the contractor initially was $250 a square foot. So Kaimi budgeted for
over 400.
Around 500, double, right? And by the time we started getting in all of these bids, it was already at $1,000 a square foot. And Ted was even telling us that he couldn't.
Well,
he wasn't sure he could keep
it's
it
a nice
at that.
home, so it's not it's an above average. It wasn't super luxury, but it was above average home. So again, we were making sacrifices in materials and in areas, but still, it was just we knew we had to pause. So then it was, okay, what do we do? We can either redesign the home, we can maybe build the cottage first and maybe only, and see. We can maybe go to something super economic, in container type stuff. So we kind of put everything out on the table. And one thing I threw out there was, well, contrary to, maybe not contrary, but also along with this crazy market is this crazy real estate market, good or bad. But, there's the old adage, sell high, buy low. And right now, at that time at least, and right now it's a seller's market. Again, has consequences of letting go of an amazing piece of property that we feel really connected to. But put it out there, maybe someone will, pay a number that justifies us to
letting go of the dream.
Move on. Well, let go of the dream on this property.
Yeah.
And that's what we did.
The initial thought was to CPR or eventually CPR the lot. We put it on the market, just the bottom half of the lot with our plans and our water meter.
And then
and 3 acres,
cottage.
and we would keep the upper 2 acres and the area we had cleared so that we could then start the process all over again, design, do the whole thing, and build a cottage, a 1,000-square-foot cottage on the area that we had planned as our initial main home site.
Right, but that CPR process takes a while. It's not guaranteed. And as we put it out there and put the listing out there, what interested buyers were, prospects were telling us was, well, that's an interesting idea, but it's just a little complicated, and I want to buy the whole thing if I'm going to do anything. And so, and as we looked at it, that is a challenging thing to continue to risk. Like, what happens if you don't get it? What happens if it takes a year? Which it could.
And also emotionally, there was a little bit of the, oh, we gotta watch our house get built.
We'll watch someone else build our house.
And we will be driving past our house every day.
Right. That's true. I never really thought about that initially, but now that we are on our way to, and we're still not closed, but by the time this posts, I think we will be, obviously. So there's a process of letting go that we're still in the middle of.
So we went through first that idea. You designed a cottage on this same footprint, if you will, and with the idea that potentially in the future it could go to 1,500 square feet here on Maui. It's a possibility, and so then you could enclose some spaces and designing for that. So we went through a pretty detailed, long process of doing that, and then once we kind of heard from people, started showing the lot, the interest was high, and then it kind of waned, and we went on vacation, so in all of these kind of ups and downs, we had different thought processes. Sure. Where then Kaimi went to the container plan, and he designed an entire house with containers. And the idea was then that, yes, we still need to design from scratch and do all of that process all over again. But while that permit is getting approved, you could be building it in a warehouse. And then once it's approved, you ship it up to your, lot, and it's a much quicker, faster process.
Yeah, and cost effective. I mean, it's not for everyone, but there's a lot of really nice examples of really cool container homes. And I like the whole tiny home mantra. Not to say you want to be in a tiny home, but there's a lot of lessons and ideas that you can put in any size home from tiny homes. So that was kind of fun, actually. But again, it was just keeping our options open, our minds open.
And even with that, it was still the potential for it to grow to 1,500.
Right.
And so the design that he designed also took that into account, that okay, the space between these containers can then potentially be closed up and, or underneath, or so, this has not just been a decision that was made very lightly. It's been a emotional roller coaster, to say the least, of just all kinds of different options, and just kind of trying to keep our minds open to what opportunities might lie ahead. And we're still kind of in major flux right now. Right now, tomorrow is the day, so you're going to be seeing this much later, but tomorrow's the day that Kaimi is going to be walking with the buyers along the perimeter of the land. In a few days is when we all sign, and then in about a week is when we close. And we plan to have one last kind of hurrah on the land and have a barbecue with our friends to say ahui ho. But actually, maybe we should talk about when we found out that the guy, so the buyer came and loved the lot. It's really easy to sell because it's so beautiful. It's gonna be this is really hard.
Yeah.
And it's a guy who's Kamaina, which was really important to us, that this didn't just go to some mainland investor or something. And we love our neighbors, and so we wanted to make sure that our neighbors had good neighbors. and there's actually like a personal connection with one of my really good friends, and we didn't know that it would just happen so quickly. And so, you know, this person came, and we were actually at a friend's house, and Kaibi was being present in the moment. We've been really like putting our phone to the side, you know, and like trying to just really be with our friends when we're with them. And he was ignoring his emails, and he gets a text from the agent saying, "Did you check your email?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I saw it come in." He's like, "You should read it." Yeah. And we literally had to run out of there because we were given a deadline, 21-day closing.
Well, I had a showing, and I didn't say it to put any pressure on anything. I just like to tell people what's happening. And so I said, I have another showing this afternoon at 2:00. And so the deal was to accept by 2:00.
And I think
which
it was
I understand now.
Like 1:20.
It was like 1:20 as I'm reading
we
it.
We had
going,
to like rush home.
I gotta go home so we can pull this up on a computer, read it, and sign before it expires.
I mean, fortunately,
and you know, again, looking back, I get it. I got that. It makes sense for the buyer. It made sense for us. And then, like you said, I just want to touch on what you said. Part of the decision and why it's okay for me to kind of let go is it feels like it's a family that's really going to enjoy this in a lot of ways that we intended. So I feel good about that. Not to say, you know, if it was a retired couple that it would be bad, it would be fine. But it kind of puts a smile on my face that there's going to be a family, you know, with some young kids that are really going to, you know, find the magic that we have found. And, you know.
Well, you also made the point that they're going to build the house, right?
Yeah, they'll probably make some changes. I mean, certainly, I would expect that. But yeah, it'll be fun. I have a feeling we'll be back here at some point, seeing a finished home, and while that will also be bittersweet. I think it'll put a smile on my face, too, because we'll have at that point hopefully moved on to our actual where we land.
We don't want to jinx that. We're crossing our fingers.
We'll see where that all ends up.
You know, everything that's happening.
What's next? One step at a time.
Yeah, one step at a time. So that is the story, and I guess this is the final chapter of our vlogging about and
this
on this very special place in Olinda.
Yep.
Say a hui hong.
Well, yeah.
Before I start sobbing.